Well, VDAB is the Flemish Public Employment Service. We consider the unemployed people, we call them customers, but we also call the employers customers. And we try to find ways to combine and to match customers, unemployed people, with employers. People is always my first slide if I present stuff. People, organization. It's not technology, it's not architecture. It's important, but it's people. Every person matters. Whatever the legal relationship with that person, the person matters. Leadership is more than the person in front. It is saying we'll take care of the people and doing it. It is saying we'll have a good organization and then making sure it's happening. It is saying I want a high-performance organization and it's challenging the people who are not performing. That's leadership. It's doing what you're saying.
This is CIONET TV. My name is Hendrik Deckers. I'm here today with Jan Dobbenie, who's the Chief Information Officer at VDAB. A very warm welcome, Jan.
Thank you, Hendrik.
Jan, you have a degree in Applied Economics from the University of Antwerp. You started your career in IT at Procter & Gamble, and later on you worked for AB InBev, for Atos, for Nuon, for Eni, and you became the CIO at VDAB in 2018.
Yeah.
So where did it all go wrong, Jan? Why did you go into IT?
Well, basically, it was not the intention immediately to go into IT because I studied applied economics at UCI at the time. But in the last year, I chose the IT section of the training. And later on, I actually got a chance to have a doctor's degree in economics with a specialization in IT. So the love for technology actually started there. Mm-hmm. And then after my military service, which was still existing in 90, I started at Procter & Gamble, which was then really a top brand to start with. Yep. Great school to learn. And I started in the IT department at the time of P&G Brussels, P&G Benelux. Yeah.
So, Dr. Dobbenie then?
Well, I never finished the doctor degree, to be honest.
Okay.
No, I stopped, did my military service and decided not to go into an academic career. So.
But then you went to the commercial career at one of the best schools, Procter & Gamble, right?
Exactly.
Okay. And so, after Procter & Gamble, AB InBev, tell us a little bit about the rest.
So I spent 11 years at Procter & Gamble, which was really significant time. It was more or less the longest period in my career at the same employer. And actually I was in the US with my family on an expat assignment. I was there already 3 years. And I got a call, that's how things work, right, from a headhunter, for an assignment at the time Interbrew. It was still Interbrew at the time. Yeah. And so, you know, started the discussion. It was quite an intriguing position. It was a big scope also, with significant impact on the Benelux region at the time. And I decided to jump and to go, as I say, from the foam from the soap to the foam
of the beer.
Of the beers.
Yeah.
So I started at Interbrew, and then it was at the time that Interbrew was doing quite a lot of acquisitions. It became then InBev and then Ambev, with the merger with the Brazilian Ambev company. Yep. It became InBev. So I kind of witnessed and was part of the whole trajectory of Interbrew becoming really the big multinational that it is today. And I was moving quite rapidly up the chain. I became at the time it was Senior Vice President Europe for IT and business services, then global business services. Mm-hmm. Actually, the predecessor of Maria Bellini, who has been here, I think, some time ago, up till, let me think, 2005. And then it stopped quite abruptly, but that's life. And, well, then I was in a rather high position, not so easy to immediately find a job on that level. So I started my own company and I became, a consultant for different assignments, and you named already a few. So that was the InBev part of my career. Okay.
And then you went into, electricity.
Yeah, electricity and gas. Yeah. So after a few short-time assignments, I started as an interim management position at Nuon at the time. It was the third supplier on the electricity and gas market in Belgium. After Engie and Luminus, number 3 was Nuon. After 2 years, became the Chief Operations Officer. Then we had a number of acquisitions there. Actually, I was part of 3 changes in control. from Nuon to the Swedish group Vattenfall. Then Vattenfall sold its stake to Eni, the big Italian oil and gas company. And then in 2017 to Eneco, and I was part of that, of these transactions, of course, each time. So from Chief Operations Officer, I became a country manager of the Eni business. And then after the acquisition of Eneco, I was appointed Chief Commercial Officer of the new entity of Eni and Eneco combined, which was then a very large third player in the Belgian market. But then I learned that Eneco itself was again for sale in 2017, and I kind of said, well, this is more than enough of that type of transactions. I mean, it's not that simple. It should have been the fourth time that kind of my people in the end, because in the end it becomes your people, your organization. You have to again move it, to another organization and go through the sales process and the transition, transformation, everything. And after a while, it kind of starts weighing. So I decided quite abruptly to leave and more or less go for a sabbatical. That was the initial plan in 17, kind of look around and do not too much, as a matter of speaking. But then, things happen, of course. And I kind of bumped into Fons Leroy, who was then the CEO of VDAB, and I said, this is interesting. Why don't you apply, step into the process? And well, voila, here I am.
Okay.
Already 4.5 years.
So from fast-moving consumer goods to beer, to utilities, and now in public service.
Yeah, and a year automotive in between too. So different sectors.
Okay, so different sectors, a lot of transitions, mergers, acquisitions, and so on. So international, local experience. So today at VDAB, for those of people that are watching this, don't know what VDAB is, in a nutshell, what is it that VDAB does?
Well, VDAB is the Flemish Public Employment Service. It is quite a large organization. We have more or less 5,000 people on the payroll. We also have done a lot of external people via contracts who also do consulting and instruction to unemployed people and to citizens. So if you add all that up, you reach 9,000 people, directly, indirectly. VDAB is indeed in charge to help, initially to help, or primarily to help people who are unemployed find a new job. And so we consider the unemployed people, we call them customers, but we also call the employers customers. And we try to find ways to combine and to match customers, unemployed people, with employers. So that's the core mission of VDAB. Now, since a few years, there is an evolution in that mission. And it is really quite a substantial transformation. It is a big deal, I would say. That program is called VIBE. VIBE is, of course, there is a VIBE, but it stands for VDAB, the V, in beweging. It's Flemish, but it basically means VDAB is on the move. That's what it means. So there is a VIBE, we have to move. But it's important because it means the market is transforming, we have to transform ourselves. That is the big challenge. And in a nutshell, we might elaborate a bit later on that, what the core mission is, but in a nutshell, what we say is, we used to work only with the unemployed people, which is in Flanders more or less, give or take, between 170,000 to 200 registered unemployed people. That's what we work with, and we try to help these people on a job. We moved that from a mission to we're going to work with all the citizens in Flanders. We're going to work with 4 million citizens. And we're going to not only work with these people when, they're unemployed. No, we're going to try to help them understand where they are in their career. What kind of competencies and skills do they have? What is the evolution on the labor market? And how can we help these people to navigate in that labor market? Because the key is, Hendrik, if you're unemployed, it's actually too late. And we are too late. It's like, the airport in Zaventem, it's the radar. You come on the radar, okay, we're going to start working with that person, with him or her. But you're actually too late. You need to be proactive with the citizens and say, look, you're in a position, you're in a career, and you might, consider changing options, looking for opportunities.
Adding new skills and
there you go.
So,
So from 200K to 4 million.
So many more clients now.
Many more clients. Working with employers, but far more with employers, and actually, working with employers in the sense of what does it take to hire a person? It's not the white raven, it's not the perfect match, forget that, that's over and out, that does not exist. You have to find people who are enough matching with your culture, the way, your skills, etc., and then educate and train them on the job. So bringing that knowledge to employers is really the key. So these are all, changes that we have to do. A third one is we have to become data-driven. Mm-hmm. We have a vast amount of data, of course, because we are government, but also because we collect and have connections with other sources of data. Yeah. So driving that machinery from a data-driven perspective is really also key of that new VDAB mission. Yeah. So those are already components. And to conclude, you can only do that through digitalization. You cannot serve 4 million customers like face-to-face in your physical locations. We have still 80 shops, 80 locations in Flanders. But the 4 million, you need to work digital. And there, we're core.
That's a big development.
That is the big development.
New big development. So the traditional systems you have is more matching systems, is a big database of the jobs that are available and a big database of the people that are available. Correct. And then mixing them so that you optimize that. Okay.
Those systems exist already quite a while. Now, what we did implement 3-4 years ago is we introduced artificial intelligence in that system. Mm-hmm. And we basically scan the market with evolutions of jobs and skills, and we see what's happening. And we try to introduce that in our matching technology in order to improve also the matching. Yeah. If you're looking for a kind of a new job, with the old system based on business rules, let's keep it simple, that was business rules. That was people saying, with these skills, you probably end up with those jobs. Yeah. Now, the machine learning and technology detects what's happening in the market and adapts actually the matching as we speak. So it's far more to the point, it's accurate, it's future-driven almost. So people with specific needs or specific requests, probably will now find easier jobs than with the old system, let's say. So it is based on artificial intelligence, machine learning. That.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that is let's say the traditional systems optimized with AI, machine learning, so that you can do better matching of what's available and who and what skills are available and what jobs are available. But now all of a sudden you're going to need to serve 4 million people and give them career advice, skill advice, develop professional development advice. So what does that mean in the way that you're going to work different, and what does that mean on the IT side? Yeah.
Well, we talk about segmentation, but the ultimate segmentation is the individual.
And the segmentation of one.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Full stop. So that's the intent where we need to go with our systems. Mm-hmm. And that's also the let's say the vision behind the systems that we build now. Mm-hmm. I'll give you a few examples. So Jobbereik, job reach, is a system we've built which is live in production, again based on machine learning and artificial intelligence, where people, every citizen can log in via the website and can upload his or her CV, curriculum vitae, or all other data that is relevant. We go from text to data, we extract the relevant data, we map that with a skills engine, and then we basically build a profile, if you want, of that person, and then we start mapping that profile to the available jobs. Mm-hmm. It's all automatic, and it's built on AI. And so the next step then is that we say for this person, with those skills and competencies that we have extracted from the data that we have of that person, that is the job reach. That's what he can reach today in terms of jobs. And that could be in sectors, it could be on levels, it could be different flavors of what a job encompasses. And so basically what you get is, if I upload my CV, I get a number of jobs.
So you can see how attractive that you are as a professional then?
Yeah, and the matching in percentage with the jobs. So it's like, okay, when there's a job CIO, it's probably going to be close to 100%. Yeah. If there is a job like other things, it might be 60, 70, whatever. Mm-hmm. So every person sees, okay, these are the jobs that are now in the database actually, and what is the match percentage, how much is the matching with my skills that I uploaded with the requested skills in the job. And then the next thing is, then you can start playing with that. In the sense, you can say, if I increase my competencies or my skills in certain areas, and you click on those skills, your reach enlarges. You see your reach, growing. And you see that other jobs are now becoming available for you to apply for.
Yeah. I learn a new language or a new digital skill.
Or whatever. I mean, and that skill set is based on a standard of skills.
Yep.
Yeah? And you basically can start clicking, and depending on what you click, you see how your reach towards the market, the labor market, is increasing.
Yep.
And the next phase, which we're now building, which will be live probably end year or next year, is then, in order to actually now obtain that level, these are the trainings that you can follow, so that you get that reach in real life.
Yeah.
So, and those things are all available for everyone. You can today log in, create an account, upload your CV, and you see what's happening.
Well, I'm unemployable anyway.
I don't know. Well, it would be an interesting test, though. But it's a pretty powerful tool, and it all depends, of course, on the quality of the data. If you have 5 pages of a CV, you probably have a lot better output than if you have like half a page, which is normal.
Okay. Is it also, or will it also be future forward-looking on what jobs you match with what is demand today? But will you also build in the future demand, because that's going to change dramatically? In the preparation we talked about truck drivers that may be going to lose their jobs because trucks will drive themselves maybe in the future. So how do you?
That is the next phase of what we try to build, is indeed to build a forecasting, a predictive model, basically saying what is the future of certain jobs. And there are studies that you can use. I mean, we all know that IT, healthcare, education jobs will be in high demand in the future. We know that today. So you can actually steer your models and say, these are the type of jobs where the demand will be far, far bigger than the offering on the market. And that will be introduced indeed to kind of tell to people, your profile looks like you might have a job in healthcare. Why are you not interested in healthcare? You're a truck driver. You're 20 years old, I told you. Maybe when you're 30 or 35 and autonomous driving picks up and maybe truck driving is not that hot or not that needed anymore, you could become a healthcare person because you have an affinity, you have certain skills, you're caring. So those things are possible. But you have to follow those and those courses, and then you can get a job in healthcare. That's the predictive element.
And there the potential is enormous.
It's enormous.
Because you could also go very granular then and advise what kind of IT skills specifically will be in demand in 2 years.
Yes.
Because they're already in demand today in California, so they will be in demand too.
There you go. That's exactly what we will try to do, is get that data from different markets and see how things are evolving in other countries. In other technologies, in sectors, and try to import that in our systems, in that job reach system, and also the skills cloud, which is another system that we have, which is actually detecting the skills in demand, which are growing, and the skills which are being reduced in the demand. We have that, and that gives us an idea of, okay, what is going on, because if you see more demand in certain skills, there will be jobs in the future. So those are the elements that we import into our AI systems.
So very ambitious business goals, and that means also very ambitious IT demand, I can imagine, and so that also means that you have to, your own team needs to develop and to change, and you need new skills all the time. So tell us a little bit about that. So you are there now, what is it, 4 years? 4 years. So how has your team changed over the last 4 years?
Well, message for all CIOs, by the way. Without people, you're screwed. I mean, I can be very, passionate here, talking about all these tools and everything. With these 25 people in my AI teams, those people make the difference. If you don't have the people, so focusing on people is your top priority. Focus on business, but also focus on people. Really focus on people. It's attracting, hiring, training, retention, the whole lot. And being VDAB, being a public employment services, it should definitely be the case like that. So that's why we introduced as soon as I was there almost. After a few months, I started with inclusive talent management, we've called it, as part of our first-class strategy. So just to be clear and give the context to the people who are looking, you have the VIBE strategy, which is VDAB white, and underneath, if you want, is the first-class strategy, which we introduced in INT. This is the whole mission strategy that we have defined in 18, 19, and that we are deploying, where we want to be with INT. Okay, and so people...
INT being IT and digital.
INT, yeah, the IT and digital, I mean the whole lot, if you want. Yeah. And people is always my first slide if I present stuff.
Okay.
People, organization. It's not technology. It's not architecture. It's important, but it's people. So what do? We have launched, indeed, our inclusive talent management program. And the first message that I always pass on is every person matters. Whatever the legal relationship with that person, the person matters. If it's on the payroll, a consultant hired via other systems, he or she is working for VDAB, is contributing, and you should try to treat everybody as much as possible in an equal way.
Yeah. Because you have different working systems. You have
the classical payroll, legal connection, payroll.
Public servants, as
public
we would
servants,
call them,
indeed.
Consultants, freelancers, and so many.
And Vlaanderen connectors and smalsters, which is typical, typical Flemish-Belgian system. Yeah. But there are different relationships in employment, also legal.
And in the past, they would have been treated completely different.
Yes.
Based on the status that they have as workers.
Exactly. Yeah. So if you do trainings, for example, we give trainings to all the people. I mean, it's not because they're payroll or consultant that the consultants don't get the training. No, they get the training. It does not mean that we will train somebody from scratch to Java. That's not what I'm saying. But we coach people for the specifics how we do things in VDAB, regardless what their background is. Yeah. We do that for everybody. That's what we mean with inclusive. For example, even trying to manage the careers, you can't do that directly with external people because of co-employment, but you can talk to your partners who are supplying those people and say, well, let's talk about that person that you're supplying is on that job. How do you see that person's career evolve? Yeah. And how can we help? How can we find solutions to which everybody is benefiting? The consultant.
So you're also working on the retention of your consultants.
Yes.
Not only of the people that...
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And the reason is simple, because most of the people in my shop are consultants. I mean, when I started, it was pretty high. It was maybe a bit abnormal high. And we've worked on that to create a better balance. But still, because we do have a lot of consultants, we treat them the same way as we do with our payroll people.
And can you give us some numbers? How big is IT? And you say 4,000 or 5,000 people in VDAB in general, with people around at 8,000. Yeah. So how big is IT?
For the moment, more or less 450 people in INT, of which roughly 75% are external people, legally external people, not on our payroll. So that is the organization, has been growing significantly the last years because of the challenges that we face. But now we're more or less stabilizing around 450. Yeah.
So what's the results that you see out of a program like this, treating all the different talent in your talent base in an inclusive in the same way?
Yeah. Well, the first result is retention, which increased. So which is very positive. When I started, we had quite a lot of turnover, especially also in the external people. I often said, well, I'm more or less a training company, right? I mean, people are turning around too quickly, so you don't have enough, basically, output from those people or value. Yeah. So retention went up, so quite significantly. And if you calculate that back in money, that is a lot of money. We talk millions, because if you hire somebody in a fairly complex world that we have in VDAB, with a lot of legacy systems, we have Java systems, legacy, we have new systems, we have components which we have bought, we have AI, we have about 300 applications, so a big shop. So onboarding somebody takes months before that person becomes productive.
Yeah.
If that person leaves after 1 year and a half or 2 years, your benefit is more or less a good year if you're lucky. So the return is pretty low.
Yeah. So
Pretty low.
you need people to stay 3, 4,
Yes.
5, 6, 7 years.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
to optimize their return of
Correct.
the investment that you do in training
Yes.
them. Yeah.
So, and there we have a first result. The second result is that we see that we, by communicating this message over and over and over again on the market in sessions like these, winning an award, which we did beginning of the year with inclusive talent management, by talking to our partners, to the big consulting companies, the Kronos, CG, Casami, we have almost all of them in the house. By talking to these partners, you start spreading the news. People start understanding, VDAB is a nice place. They treat people well. Work-life balance is okay. They have really sexy projects. They work with brand new technology. They know where they want to go. And so the attracting, I feel the last year more or less, the attracting is picking up a bit. It's still hard, eh?
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. It's still hard, but we seem to touch the right buttons, to motivate people to come and work for VDAB. The fact that we have continuity means that also we do calculations on output per person, per unit, if you want. We see that going up. And it is related, of course, because if your skills base grows, continuity grows, the speed of delivery grows. And I'm not talking about agile and all that. I'm just talking about people with longer history in the company, with deeper knowledge, can produce faster results. It's a very simple rule in a way. Eh?
Yeah.
So the output and the value generation to the business, the unit per head, and we measure that with the tool, is going up slightly, step by step.
And how do you measure the output of your people? Because that's not for every job, it's that easy.
No, but we do that for our Java. We have Java for our Java development. We have about, give and take, 110 Java developers.
Wow.
Pure developers, with then testers and functionalists. I mean, we call that the factory, the software factory is over 200 people. So we see when we code, when we develop it with stories, and we try to do that in an agile way with the whole agile waterfall, I call it. You know what that means? I'll explain later otherwise. But agile waterfall, meaning we worked very agile in between the waterfall moments of production.
Okay.
Turnover to production. And that is measured, what the output is of the different teams, and actually compared. And sometimes Catherine, who is running the factory, is kind of demonstrating how things are going and tries to create some competition in between the teams, a funny competition. But we see basically that the output of code, if I put it black and white and simplistically, is really going up per unit per person. Yeah.
So next to the inclusive talent management and under the umbrella of FIBE, what are the other major programs you're working on for the moment?
Yeah. So as I said, we have the first class strategy, which is really the big strategy within the INT department. That is our vision, if you want. And there's different elements defined underneath the first class name, if you want. We covered people. We have worked pretty hard on architecture, which is like, yeah, sure, why not? I mean, it sounds logical, but I can assure you it was not. Architecture is hard. It says basically that you will start working according to a number of principles. Yeah, again, but defining the principles and then making sure they're followed, making sure step by step that you work towards that architecture is hard labor. It's very tough. You have to explain it. You have to get everybody around the table and aligned. So that is. We've worked on that now for also since 2018, and now we see, the first results of that architectural work. It's event-driven architecture, components and loosely coupled. I mean, everybody's doing it more or less, but still, I would challenge many people that following it, really strictly, so that you see the progress towards that architecture is really hard, because people dare to divert and build things as they see fit. Architecture we've worked on quality, the quality of the code, quality of secure code, hot topic. Security was a major project on itself, security and privacy. And finally, data. I am the corporate sponsor for the business and for IT for the data program. It's the full suite. It's pretty basic stuff like master data, data catalog, data governance.
So data is a little bit out. You have the responsibility as CIO, but also as corporate data.
Yeah, I'm
and
the
that's
data
a
guru.
separate function in the organization.
It's a separate program, a separate function, if you want. Yeah. So I'm in charge of building the data vision and making the VDAB a data-driven organization. Yeah.
Okay.
And again, it is a number of projects and programs that are underneath, very basic ones, but also the ones of artificial intelligence, harvesting data, doing smart things. So it's the full scope.
But give us a bit more information on that, so because that's super interesting, of course. And besides people and quality and architecture and security, data is a super hot topic. So
yes.
So how would you describe your data strategy and how do you build that? Well, I mean, how do you, what are the goals that you want to achieve there?
Yeah. Well, the strategy is, I could summarize it in one sentence, but we want to be in the heart of the market, of the labor market regarding to, the crossroads of the data for the Flemish market. We have today the biggest database of vacancies. We have that already. We have all unemployed people. We have a growing number of citizens who create a login. So taking that position and saying, look, here is a government institution, a government organization that is harboring, all that data and is playing a bit the crossroads, exchanging data with other parties who can also help the market, the labor market. It's not that we want to own and kind of commercially benefit from the data, on the contrary. That makes us different versus, for example, commercial parties. We will share our data with other parties as a platform, if you want, in order to help the labor market. That is the vision. We want to be in the middle. Having said that, it means that we have to build, first of all, all the bricks and the systems and the data platform upon which different systems can harvest data. Our AI systems use that, but also other systems, but also non-VDAB systems can connect and use that data, again, to help the labor market. So that is the vision, that is where we want to go. And it will take a while, because we have to construct a lot of those components still. And
what's the technology platforms that you use there?
For the data warehouse itself, we have Cloudera. We're not on the cloud, by the way. I will tell you why soon.
Interesting part of the discussion.
It's an interesting part. It's privacy reason. Very simple. I can give the answer. We're not allowed to. Very simple.
Oh yeah.
So we follow a hybrid structure. We have certain elements on the cloud. If it's not strictly personal data, so if it's anonymized or it is clustered so that you can't get personal data out of that.
Then you can put it in the cloud?
Then we put it on the cloud. So certain of our AI tools run on the Amazon cloud in this case. Because there's no real individual personal data.
All the personnel or personal data needs to be
on-premise.
On-premise in your own data center?
Yes.
Whoa.
Yes. It's complicating matters, of course, a lot.
I can imagine.
Yes.
So that's holding back a little bit?
And it's in the small data center. So small people, in Europe will not know what it means, but it's the small data center. It's a federal data center of the federal IT organization. Yep. Since we're part of the Kruispuntenbank Social Security, we also host all our applications and our data in smalls. Yeah. In that data center. And it will probably stay there because we cannot move that to the cloud because we have...
it's a kind of government cloud or...
Well, it's you have to ask Frank Robben, but that is the government cloud, the G cloud. We'll see how that evolves. Today we take what we call a hybrid architecture. So where we can and where we are allowed, we move to the cloud, but that's limited because typically it's personal data. And that we keep on premise, which means that we have significant large teams in order to run all that stuff and keep that running. But we have a classical stack of technology, and then we use a number of AI tools. We have quite a lot of technology actually, which is one of the things of architecture, is to select the right one and stick to it, and not have to
create more and more legacy.
Challenge, because we have an architecture board. We have a governance for that architecture board, which I'm also part of, and there my question is: you introduce something, do you also eliminate something? You introduce a new technology, okay, I can understand maybe why, and convince me what's the benefit, what's the business case, and what will you take away? Because otherwise you end up with a vast amount of technology.
You need to measure your application BMI almost. We had a discussion on one of our international conferences lately. One of the ERP top guys from Unilever, we said every company should measure their application BMI. How many applications do you have per 1,000, 5,000?
We're fat.
Okay, you're fat.
We're fat. Maybe it's an excuse, but we also have a lot of different business processes and different required functionalities. We do work with employers, we work with partners, we work with citizens, we work with unemployed. We have IBO system, we have checks, wijkwerkerchecks, we have many different type of processes required, of flavors of managing.
Every new thing that the governments think of, you need to make sure that it's supported and so on. So we have a complex way of...
Very complex.
Okay.
So
and also, you cannot install an SAP for an unemployment service. That doesn't exist.
Doesn't exist. We actually have been looking for that, but the complexity and the variety in the demand, and indeed of the cabinet and the government, of the flavors of what they want is very high. So that's why we are heavily depending on development of in Java.
And so you do this for Flanders. Is there an active collaboration, I don't know, with Holland, with Brussels, with the Walloons, with the Germans, with the French? How much are you learning from each other?
There's an exchange. Is it active? Not that we exchange, for example, applications or whatever. No, that we don't do. But we do discussions, meetings or seminars, if you want, where we... First of all, also business-wise, we always start with the business. Okay, what's happening in your market? What is the evolution? And how are you addressing those? And what does it mean then in the second stage for the INT systems? And can we learn from each other?
Jan, one of the things that you with VDAB are also involved in are the CIONET tribes.
Yes.
Where you collaborate with IT teams, your IT team collaborates with other IT teams. Tell us a little bit about that. How does that work, and what's the value that you get out of that?
Yeah. How does it work? It is the people, for example, the security people of the different companies are sitting together and are exchanging their reality in a way to each other. They talk about the projects, about the threats. I'm talking security now, but it could be architecture, could be different topics that we have in the tribes. And also for me, actually, the biggest learning is talking with peers. Is not going to a seminar and going one direction from the guy in front and listening. Typically boring rather quickly. So it is about exchanging and picking up, okay, this guy has a similar problem, let's talk about it, and later on even phoning him or connecting your people with their people and establishing networks. So that is the key success element of the tribes. And for me, again, always the best learning opportunity is talking with peers, exchanging ideas and experiences, and this happened, what a misery, okay, what did you do? I mean, so I think it's a good concept, and I typically tend to go more to those type of events than the more classroom type of things.
Okay. So Jan, if you look at your role today in the company, how would you describe it? Where do you spend most of your time? Where is your personal focus today?
Yeah. Well, it has been changed, of course. In the beginning, you built your organization, you work on establishing a good team around you. That's always the first step to do, by the way. Getting the right people around you so that you basically get time to work externally out of your organization. And I think now it's probably 70% externally, 30% internally, because I have a very strong team. It's a great team, actually. We trust each other. The machine is running. So I know, okay, I can delegate what I call accountability. Not just complete packages account, this is yours, deal with it. And so my time split is probably now is 70% towards business, towards Vlaamse overheid, Flemish government. Try to understand what's going on, participating at those debates. I'm in the board of Vlaanderen Connect. I'm part of the governing body of the ICT of the Flemish government as a whole. I'm also sitting there. So I think it's very important to work outside business and the bigger scope externally.
And that's also where your experience is. I mean, in your previous jobs, you were commercial manager, general manager, operations, not only IT. So that's
correct.
So it's an.
And try to. I always say, and I've witnessed the change in the job of the CIO because I've been around for a while, and if you use an image, it's the CIO moved from. Well, basically, it wasn't a CIO at the time; it was an IT manager.
No.
At the bottom, somewhere in the ship, at the engines. And now a good CIO is on the bridge and taking the helm, even. I was moving from CIO, CO to CEO in an energy company. So if you work towards business, you can actually do that. And because digitalization is so important, the board of directors might even appoint you to be the CEO, because you might bring other ideas that the CEO doesn't have. I mean, I see that more and more.
Yeah, but still, there's not that many people that make that transition today from CIO. Not yet. So what makes you special? Why were you able to take the steps to COO and CEO where other people can't?
Again, it's being outward. It's not, working downward. You can say, okay, I spent 80% of my time working with my people about technology and about, all those things that's going on. I don't do that. No, I don't do that. My people have to do that.
Yeah.
And that's number one. So if you don't make the time yourself, you'll never make it, of course. You have to make time to interact with the business, to help them out, to take maybe parts of the business under your wings, if you want, like I do now for the whole data. You could say, yeah, you're an IT guy, so you take the data, but it's really the broad scope of data. It's not just the IT element of the data in VDAB. It is really the complete data program, and it's all about creating that position that I described a few minutes ago, like VDAB wants to be in the middle of the labor market regarding data as the data platform. There's a business discussion. Technology follows. Of course, it has to follow. And there you need to have good people.
Let's talk about your management team. The people because that's what you say is crucial. So building a very successful management team. What is the management style that you want your team to use to manage the complete?
Well, I try to kind of coach them a bit in the sense that I think I work towards them, and what I try to kind of cascade down a bit. I always say there's a moment of discussion, interaction, about topics, about the strategy, about technology, whatever, where you really have to go deep, have the debate with the people around the table, and then there's a time of deciding and execution. And those are two important phases, and they should not intertwine, because then you're in trouble.
Once you decided?
Well, yeah, and you deliver what you're supposed to deliver, what you decide to deliver, and then you check. Basically, it's do, check. It's a simple cycle, but it's often so violated. People are mixing all those things and never get a good result. It's better to have a good discussion, decide swiftly, and then execute, and then do an assessment. Again, have a discussion, adapt. And that's what I try to instill into my people. So my leadership style is not like command and control, for sure not. No, that's not what I'm saying. But you have to have a good discussion, and you feel, in the end, you feel when there is time to make a decision and then to execute. Make it so, as they say then. Get it done.
So that's how you manage, but how you lead is a different thing, because a leader is somebody that people want to follow, right? So how do you look at your own leadership, and who are the examples that you can learn from?
That's a tough question. Examples. I think there are different styles of leadership, and I try to combine elements of what I see sometimes. I had different managers, and when you really talk about leadership, this is about painting the picture towards the future. That is step one. This is what we've done with the first class strategy. And I say we, because, okay, I initiate it, and I say, okay, we want to create a vision where we want to be in 4 years, and we talk about maturity levels. This is how we think about it, maturity levels. First class, and then is going outward and painting the picture and getting enthusiasm around it. That's leadership. Am I a very, good speaker? I don't know, maybe I am, but it's like you try to get people on board, and it's the full set. It's not because it's me leadership is more than the person in front. It is about what you do in all the elements of, in my case, of the first class strategy. It is saying we'll take care of the people and doing it. Yeah. It is saying we'll have a good organization with some good principles on how we want to work, and then making sure it's happening. It is saying I want a high-performant organization, and it's challenging the people who are not performing. So that's leadership. It's doing what you're saying and taking every day as an opportunity. Because you asked me my mantra, I think that is the key. It's you have to learn from the past, but don't look too much to the past. Look at the future. Look at opportunities. Every day is a new opportunity. That's basically my textbook. And try to move forward towards your vision with your team. Your team.
Jan, I know you're a big fan of Jean-Luc Picard from Star Trek. Well, why is that?
Well, first of all, you could call me a Trekkie in a way. I'm not a fanatic Trekkie, but I do like, for sure, the Star Trek of when I was a bit younger. The new ones I'm not going to talk too much about, the new versions of today, the new series. But Jean-Luc Picard was the captain of the Starship Enterprise and the new generation, and I think he was pretty aspiring as a manager or as a leader, because and I once read an article about it, the leadership style of the Starship captain, and he does a bit what I just described. He's, of course, it's cinema, I know, but he sits in his conference room and he's collecting information, and they're talking and scenarios, positions, opinions. That is the collaboration. That's what I talked about earlier. And then at a certain stage, he says, okay, this is what we concluded. This is what, and it's basically repeating what others are saying and what the majority was saying or was leaning towards, and he's iterating it, clarifying it, making it in a structured position, and then he says, make it so, which is a great statement, make it so. And then these people go and they do it. And that's also the delegation of accountability and not of tasks. He says, he says not, can you do this and this and this and this and that? No, he says, make it so. You're in charge, my friend, go for it. Okay. And I think that's amazing, and of course it's
okay.
It's fiction, but
Jan Picard, Jean-Luc Dobbenie.
Don't get there. Yeah. But I use that statement actually on YouTube. There is a compilation of, I think, 120 times when he says, make it so, make it so, make it. Okay. And I once showed that to my leadership team, and actually
it sticks.
It sticks.
Okay. Now, what is that really drives you in the end? Because, you worked for P&G, InBev, and utility companies where probably you were paid a bit more than you're paid today. So why are you doing this job?
Yeah, for sure not for the money. Yeah. No, that's a fact. For sure not for the money. Let's say that throughout my career that has changed. In the beginning of the career, it was making career and making money. Let's not be,
Let's not beat around the bush.
Let's not beat around the bush. That's how you are for sure as a youngster, and I think it has changed somewhere around my 40s, early 40s, where you start, becoming a bit gray, and you start understanding some of the dynamics of how companies work and how nice they can be, but also how brutal they can be. And you have to adapt to that. And and that's for an example, after 3 acquisitions in the energy sector, then enduring a 4th one was like, this is enough. I'm not going to do that anymore. So I just pulled the plug because I had no job. I just pulled the plug. And the reason was that I really wanted to do something different and away from that logic of EBIT and P&Ls and everything, and creating value for people in need. Because that's what we do at VDAB. Yeah. People are in need of a job. and you try to create tools, value in a way, so that you help these people. And it's very rewarding. It's tough. It's very tough, by the way. It's not that it's an easy job. Let's forget that. It's not that public servants have easy jobs. On the contrary, I would even say. And they're underpaid. In general, they're underpaid. But having a contribution and impact on a society, which I have today, is rewarding.
And that works for you. In the end of the week, you say, I had a contribution to the better of our...
Well, I look back at my 4 years now, I had a significant contribution, yes. Within VDAB, but also broader. And with the organization that we have built with my team and with all the people there and with the tools that we have built and the impact and the projects we do, we have a significant impact on improving the life of a lot of people. The second point is also, collaborating with the leaders in the Flemish government, trying to have an influence on the IT agenda of the Flemish government is rewarding. And there's a lot to do there, an enormous amount of work. Being part of that at the side still, but that's okay. It's rewarding.
In your career, you have built quite some successful tracks, right? In the different industries and where you're today. And we already talked about some of your ingredients for success being, one of them is the people and creating strong teams and so on, so that you can focus more on business when you're in a CIO role and so on. But we all make our mistakes. We all have our failures because that's how we grow, that's how we learn. So would you care sharing with us maybe one of your most brilliant failures and what you learned from that?
Well, without calling names, of course, but a brilliant failure is during my time in the energy company. I'm gonna call the project out, but it was a pretty big project. But launching something with lots of money and lots of effort that actually didn't really make it, and I think now is completely dead. By now, actually a few years already. So that was a mistake. Of course, at the time it was you think it's a good idea and you go for it, and I wonder why was it a mistake? And I think one of the key things, however, that I learned is if you're not going wholeheartedly with it, and with the proper funding and the proper support and everything around it, you better don't start.
Okay.
Yeah? And I'm not talking about the experimental phase and trying things out, etc., etc. This is really about the phase of the launching. If you're trying to launch something to follow competition,
not a good idea.
Maybe not a good idea, because you probably are too late. You probably don't have the means. So reconsider. And it is all about. That's why I'm so now focusing on that. Is the word focus. Do what you're good in. Try to expand on things that are part of what you could call the innovation cycle. Experiment, deploy. I always say, try a lot but fail cheap. Try a lot, experiment a lot, but fail cheap. But when you really decide to go full blown. Don't do it half baked, because you will fail. That's what I personally learned from it.
Let's talk a little bit more about your personality. Let's go one step deeper in this leadership deep dive. And you shared with us your MBTI profile.
Yes.
And you are an ESTJ.
Yeah.
ESTJ, also known as an executive, and that's somebody with extroverted, observant, thinking and judging personality traits. And these are people that possess great fortitude, empathically following their own sensible judgment, and they often serve as stabilizing force among others, able to offer solid direction amid adversity.
That I didn't know all that last stuff, but okay, yeah.
I'm going to name a couple of typical strengths, personality strengths with people with your profile, and then you tell me where you recognize yourself or don't recognize yourself. So an executive, an ESTJ, is typically somebody who's dedicated, strong-willed,
yeah, that's for sure.
direct and honest,
Correct.
Loyal, patient, reliable.
Yeah.
Okay. You enjoy creating order.
Yes.
You do?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
My wife would even agree with that. Yeah, and my people for sure. Yeah, yeah.
And you're an excellent organizer. Tell us about these last things. I mean,
Well, order, I would call it vision and structure, because it's funny. I see many leaders make mistakes in there because they get absorbed by the operational things and everything, and they sink in the water, if you want. I mean, and I often coach leaders to say, you have to work on your structure. You can call it order. For sure. I mean, you have individual contributors, you have team managers, and then you have organization managers, simplistically. If you're running an organization of 50, 60, 100 people, you really have to work on structure, order, not the word hierarchy, but really understanding who is doing what, organizing the shop, if you want, delegating accountability, as I call that, because otherwise you end up into trouble, and I call it the arithmetic of leadership. I'll tell you, or the mathematic of leadership. It's a simple thing. A long time ago, a boss, a good boss, actually told me that. I said, Jan, I'll tell you something. Just imagine you have 7 people. Yeah, you're one, and you have 7 direct reports. So and they have all a capacity, let's say, of 10. You have a capacity of 80. Okay. So if you are not creating enough structure, clear accountability, and your machine is not running, you might work at 12. Yeah, you do 2 plus. But that person will do 7. That person will contribute 8. That may be 10. So, the other one 5. Etc. So the combination is less than 80. Yeah? So you have to spend time to make sure that all these people are delivering 10. And then you do that with structure, with clear roles, with accountability, with, just making sure it is an oiled machine. And I see so many times that people make a mistake. And how do you see that? You just look to the agendas of these people. They're cluttered. Yeah, they're like one after the other meetings. And they're in meetings like, why is he there? Or why is she there? No, his or her people should be there. He should not be there. So look at the agenda. Very nice. We have open agendas in VDAB, so I can do that and see, whoa, here I predict the problem.
Oh yeah, you can see that in somebody's agenda.
Yeah, we have an open policy of open agendas, so they're all public. Everybody can see. If you really want to hide something, you have to put it in private, which you can do. So micromanagement, in a way, it's called. That's what people call micromanagement. What I just described is what I call creating structure. Structure creates peace, comfort, relax.
Everybody has strengths, but everybody has also weaknesses, development areas. So, Jan, sometimes you, or sometimes people with your personality, let's call it like that, can be inflexible and stubborn. They can be uncomfortable with unconventional situations, can be sometimes judgmental, too focused on social status, maybe in the past, more than today, I don't know, difficult to relax, and difficult maybe sometimes to express emotions. Where do you recognize yourself?
Well, there are for sure flavors of what I recognize, maybe in different stages of my career. Stubbornness, inflexibility, probably, early in my career, yes, I've learned to...
And how did you overcome that? Because you cannot be stubborn and make a career, right?
When you're too stubborn, you might get yourself really in trouble. Without going into details, but that might have happened early in my career where I was too eager, too stubborn, I wanted to move too fast, and people said, whoa, take your time, it becomes counterproductive in the end. And the younger you are, the more risk you run into that, because you want to move forward and you're impatient, you're a bit stubborn. Why do we need another discussion on this? We already have done 5. So now I have a different approach. You have a good, solid discussion. It can take a while, and then you make a decision you want. So yes, of course, I recognize some of those things. What else did you? Because
expressing emotions, is that sometimes of something that you had to learn?
In a work environment, I'm probably still not so good in that. I try to stay cool with things. Yeah, in the past, I have meetings where I really exploded almost, and really got into conflict that these things happened. That's totally.
So there
finished.
were no
It's not
emotions
worth it.
or full emotions.
Yeah, in a way, yeah. But in meetings, I can become very passionate, and passionate can, if you're too passionate, you become, stubborn and unmanageable, maybe. But not anymore, believe me, because otherwise you don't reach the sea level. Clear.
So many good things that happened to you in your life.
Yeah.
In your personal life, did you have some major drawbacks, some bad things that happened to you that have formed you in a way that you have learned from?
I think I'm fortunate in a way. Of course, things are happening which are not pleasant. In the work environment, okay, there was a stage in my life which was at the time at InBev when I was fired just like that on one day without...
That's painful.
That was painful.
Yeah.
I was 40, I think. And that was a painful exercise because I didn't see it coming. You were a top performer, you're in the you're in the whatever, top 200 of the company.
And then all of a sudden...
And then on a Good Friday at 4 o'clock, I'll never forget it, I was with my boss and he said, yeah, you can go, over and out. Okay, afterwards, at the moment, more or less a small mini crash, of course, because you don't understand why. But there is no reason actually why. It's just a restructuring, and you happen to end up on a list.
Had nothing to do with you as
So
a
and there I
person.
really learned, Hendrik, that you're not married with the company. Mm-hmm. You should not get yourself too emotionally connected to a company because it can backfire on you.
Yeah.
And there I actually took that decision almost a few weeks later by reflecting on what just happened to me and say, okay, this will never happen to me again because it hurts too much.
Yeah.
This is painful. And you get afterwards, it is the story what they say, you become stronger, and actually you do. The week afterwards was hell. I mean, it was like, fuck, what is happening? I mean, this is terrible. What just happened to me? Why? You ask the reason why, but there is no why. But it takes time. It takes time to find out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe that everybody has an important gift. Something, a characteristic, something that you're really good at, where the one thing that you excel at. If you look at yourself from the outside, Jan, what is your unique gift in life?
I think working with people is something that I probably do pretty well. Yeah. And why do I say that? People do follow me for some reason. My director of operations was my previous CIO. The guy who's running the Intel team, the data platform, is a guy who worked at Eni. So I have like 5, 6, 7 people of Eni that
follow you.
That followed me. They probably don't do it because of me, but something, something that I try to reach with my personality.
You can create an environment where people can.
Is it a gift? I don't know, but it's something that I succeed into. And I mean, recently one of my direct reports, actually recently this week, he said to me, "It's the first time that I like my job so much. I like my team and I like my boss." Okay, then I'm okay. That's a gift for me also. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, good. That makes me happy. And that's why we do it for. I mean, okay. So that might be a gift, Hendrik.
I think so. It sounds like it. If it sounds like it, then it's probably...
If people tell it to you, huh? Right.
Last question on, what is the advice you would give to people that just come out of school and watch this interview and say, I want to be the future CIO of a big government organization or of Procter & Gamble or whatever. What do they need to do to become successful?
Well, lifelong learning. Mm-hmm. Lifelong learning, even more important than when we started, because technology is moving forward exponentially. Yeah? It's going so fast that it will be a huge challenge for everybody to have lifelong learning, technology. But again, technology is one element, for sure in the beginning of the career, but then after a while, you need to make sure you hone the skills, you build the skills which are needed to work on a C level. And I think we talked about them, but that's what I would tell to the juniors who are starting their career.
Okay. Super, Jan, and with that, I thank you so much for coming over, having this great discussion. So it was a pleasure.
Thanks, Hendrik.
Thank you, Jan.